My wife doesn't like to do that, but I do it on Friday night, but then at
Right.
lunch I don't do it.
Right, lunch we use paper plates, that's right.
We don't use paper. Well, so today we didn't use paper, and then there's a bunch, there's
We
all
did it.
all the pots and everything, there's like lots of stuff.
Friday night, we.
And everything doesn't fit in the dishwasher on one load,
Oh, I can move somehow?
so. Well, we cleared the table, I put away the candlesticks.
A quarter that will be good for you, right?
I think she'll
be happy.
she'll be appeased.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
she wants 7, but she'll be appeased.
But if she really wants 7, we can,
We'll talk about it after. We'll try a
We'll
week.
try it, let's try it next week.
Okay, well,
Right, 6 minutes early.
we're on Daf Dalit on the top line, and Sugi came in Agav that it mentioned in the Brisa that it's possible to be Baal Ta'achir also by Nazirus. Mamish came off, one thing came to the other, and it was mentioned in the Brisa that it's Baal Ta'achir by Nazirus. And the more was asking, how is it possible to have Baal Ta'achir? Baal Ta'achir means don't delay. But the question was that when someone says, I'm a Nazir, he automatically becomes a Nazir. And if he transgresses, he transgresses. So nothing about being late about it. If you made
Once he says he's a Nazir.
say, I'm a Nazir. And if they say, the more tried, he says, I'll be a Nazir when I want to. So then the Gemara says, if you said you'll be a Nazir when you want to, so there's no Baal Ta'achir because you already put in the stipulation that you're not accepting it as soon as possible. You said when I want to. So there's no Baal Ta'achir there either. So the Gemara is groping. The Gemara had one teretz so far. That was the previous page. It said, if he said, I'm gonna be a Nazir in my lifetime, sometime before I die. Before I die.
Yeah.
So if he says when I want, so if he never wanted, so he never did transgress. But if he said I'm going to be a Nazir in my lifetime before I die, so we never know when he's going to die. So then he has to do it as soon as possible. The Gemara seemed to be satisfied with that answer. That was the answer number 1. Now comes a couple of more to on the top line in Daf Dalit. That he made the neder that he's going to become a Nazir, that he made himself a Nazir when he was in a cemetery. It means he can't be, when he is in a cemetery, he's Tameh. So the Nazir, one of the things of the Nazirus is that he should not become Tameh, and he's reading the basic verse. So the Gemara thinks that it doesn't, the Gemara is going to say right away that could be that he doesn't take effect until he gets out of the Tumah. He has to go out of the basic verse. Maybe he also has to become Tor in order that it should be able to take effect. So he's delaying from activating the Nazirus.
That would be again.
So we could tell about that.
About
So then Baal Ta'achir, the Chiddush is that don't delay, get it going as soon as possible. The regular way a person says I'm a Nazir, so right away it takes effect. So there's no possibility of delaying. But if he's in a basic war, so it doesn't take effect until he gets out, and maybe he becomes Torah. So then there's a mitzvah, don't delay in activating it. But the Gemara says it's not so simple. That's true that it doesn't take effect right away. That's only good if you hold that the Nazirus does not take effect right away. If he said this neder in the basic verse, but there's one Dhamma that says that it does take effect right away. But if you hold not like that, you hold that even if he's in the basic forest, if he says I'm a Nazir, it takes effect right away, so then you have no answer, because again, right away it was activated. And also the Gemara says, that everybody holds Chayla and Nazir Salei Malta. There's a machlokas later on, but Mabra Bashi explains that everybody holds that it does take effect right away. Machlokas is only if he's going to be Chayla Malkas if he transgresses until he gets out of the basic forest. But surely it's usher that does take effect even in the basic forest. So I think that was the kasha. Again, the Gemara wants to know how is it possible to be usher to delay the Nazirus. If he says I'm a Nazir, right away take effect. The Gemara tried to answer that he's in the basic forest and it doesn't get activated. But the Gemara says no, it does get activated right away. The Gemara answers, this is the answer now. Even if it is true that it gets activated right away, but then it's not yet, he's a Nazir who's Tameh. He is a Nazir, even if he's a Nazir, but he's a Nazir Tameh. And there is a mitzvah to be a Nazir Torah. He's going to have to get out of it, even if he does take effect right away, it doesn't count. It's not going to count for his Nazirus. If he eats grapes, maybe it's Asa, maybe it's Chayv Malchus, maybe not, but he's going to surely have to do a Nazirus Torah. So here the Gemara says that there is a Baal Ta'achir, even though the Nazirus is right away, but it's a Baal Ta'achir, don't delay doing the Nazirus of Torah. So he would have to get out of the basic verse as soon as possible, even if it took effect right away, and he is a Nazir Tameh, he has to try to become Torah as soon as possible. On that, the Gemara says, I just put in parentheses, Am Ravashi, Hol V'chein, since that's so, once he just came out to that maskana, that there's a Baal Ta'acher even if you're a Nazir, but it's not good enough. You have to become a Nazir Torah. So then it comes out a very big Chiddush. Nazir Shetim Yasmo, but Mezid over Misham Baal Ta'acher, then it's Nazir Tara. If someone's a Nazir, he's Torah, everything's going well, and he's Matami himself intentionally, so he transgressed Baal Ta'acher. Which Baal Ta'acher? Because he's pushing up the Nazirus of Torah. He was a Nazir Torah, and now he's going to have to become, now he's Tameh, and he's going to have to wait until he becomes Torah. So he's delaying the Nazirus Torah process. So that's also an Avera. It could be that of course, if he was a Matami himself, that itself is an Avera. He's not supposed to become Tameh. But besides this, of becoming Tameh, he also transgressed, that he delayed the Nazirus of Torah. So that's a good teretz also. It seems the Gemara has already two teretzim. And one teretz was that he said, I'm going to become a Nazir before I die. So there's a case of not delaying it over there, do it as soon as possible. Second case would be that if he made a Nazirus in the basic Torah, so there's a mitzvah to get out as soon as possible and get out of it in order to get into the Nazirus Torah as soon as possible.
What is the whole, and I forgot what we're dealing with.
We're really on a tangent.
We're on a tangent because we added Nazir, right?
And there's a price, it says that we really were looking for. The Mishnah also mentioned about Nazirus when it spoke about Kinuyim, but we're not into that. We wanted to know where it says, where's the source that Yados. He said also in the Mishnah there's this thing of Yados. Yados means he said half a sentence and it's understood. And we wanted to know a source for that, and we brought a pasuk where it says Lindor, Neder, Lahazir, it had the double lashon over there. And okay, over there we came out that, and we mentioned a brisa that says the drasha in a way that we also extracted. There's a kekesh between the two. The pasuk itself is makish, Nedarim, and Nazirus. That was on a Gimel and Aleph, and over there mentioned that there's also Baal Ta'acher and Baal Yachel also on Nazirus. So we're on this cruise on the side, a side cruise to figure out how is it possible to have Baal Ta'acher on Nazirus. By Neder, the Baal Ta'acher is simple. You made a Neder, I'm going to do something, so you can do it. You say, I'm going to get stuck, I'll be a korban, so do it as soon as possible. But by Nazirus, you say, I'm a Nazir, so it happened right away. So that's what we're looking for. So that's the answer, that he was in the basic verse when he said, Iranian Nazir. So even if it gets activated right away, but he's not a Nazir Tohar, it doesn't start the Nazirus Torah until he gets out.
Will kick in.
Right. So then Baal Ta'acher, don't delay becoming a Nazir Tohar. And now we have a third possibility. The first one again was that he said, before I die, I'll be a Nazir. Sometimes before I die, he said, do it as soon as possible. You don't know when he's going to die. Second one is if he was in the basic verse when he made the Nazirus. So get out as soon as possible in order to become a Nazir Tohar as soon as possible. And now goes a new teretz. Not the delaying in doing the Nazirus, but after we finish the Nazirus, and now he's in the process of becoming out of the Nazirus, he's supposed to cut his hair. During the Nazirus, he does not cut his hair. After we finish, he's supposed to cut his hair, and we'll see that later on in the details of a Nazir. Mesechus Nazir, that'll be probably in the next Masechta. But there's such a thing as Tiglachas, he's supposed to cut his hair, and then once he's ready to do that, also he should not delay the Tiglachas. Lomi boy l'madam Tiglachas makeves, alapiv l'madam Tiglachas einam makeves, mitzvahs giluach via lo makayim. There's a machlokas later on if the hair cutting, if he's cutting his hair, if it stops him from being able to drink wine, being able to get out of the Nazirus, does it become mutter without this part of the process? Of cutting his hair. So if you hold the Glachas Makavis, then it's Pasha. So there's a mitzvah to finish whatever you're supposed to do. You were Nazir, and now you're also supposed to do this process after you finish the Nazirus. And it's Makiv. You didn't. It's essential. If you don't do it, so then it doesn't happen. You didn't get out of it.
Does that happen after the korban?
After I don't remember the order. That's going to be. That's going to be Amud Beis. We're going to have it on Amud Beis.
Mitzvahs giluach. What does it mean?
But even if you hold that the glachas is not makiv, even if it's not essential, it means that he's allowed to drink wine even before he does the haircut, and only the korban is going to be makiv or something like that. But it's a mitzvah, and therefore there's a Baal Ta'acher around the giluach. So this third answer is saying that you're right. There might not be a Baal Ta'acher on doing the Nazirus, but there's a Baal Ta'acher around the process which follows the Nazirus, which is the haircut. Okay. And another teretz, the fourth teretz, I think this is the final one. What's
the Mia?
Mia, like Al Kapanim. In any case, how do you say it? However,
lo makayim.
Mitzvah giluach Mia lo makayim. He's not makayim the mitzvah giluach, so it means until he does it. Even if it's not essential, you have to do it. And if he didn't do it, so he's delaying doing it. Fourth teretz, Marzut Rebbe Amar Yamar, over Baal Ta'acher Karbonosa. That if he doesn't mean the Karbonos sometime. And that's true that, like we said, there's after the process, he brings Karbonos, he brings a Chatas, Ola, Chatas, and a Shlomim. Rashi brings down, that's in the Psukim of the Torah. And if he's supposed to read him as soon as possible, once he finishes his Nazirus, he's supposed to be in the Karbonos. And if he doesn't do that, so he's Ma'acher. So he delayed.
Are we up to Mincha?
Right. The more the kasha. The more the kasha. This is not a regular term. You see little stylistic differences in Mesachas Nedarim. You learn that from here. Means you don't need this pasuk to say this baltach on the karbanas. This got baltach on all karbanas. We learn it from someplace else. It has the pasuk in the Roshi Drishanu. Hashem is going to demand it from you, and it says over there, Elu Chato means don't lo sachel shalmo. Don't delay. That's the end of the pasuk. Don't delay because Hashem is going to demand it from you. And over there we have a drasha to learn out that the Rosh Hashanah is referring to korban chatas. Elu chatas v'shamos. So every korban chatas, every korban Hashem, there's a bal tacher. So why do you have to have a special pasuk over here to say that there's bal tacher for a nazir? It's not if it all means nazir, just means the korban chatas of the nazir. So there's a regular general bal tacher on all korban chatas. The Gemara says no, this might be different. You might think that since the Torah is something very unique about a nazir. The Gemara is going to go on at length to figure out what's unique about a nazir. But the Gemara says since there's a chiddush, you might think that it doesn't go into the regular klal of korban chatas, and even though on a regular korban chatas there is bal ta'acher, maybe on the chatas of a nazir there's not bal ta'acher. Therefore, you need a special pasuk, and that's a good answer as long as you tell me what is the chiddush, what's unique about a nazir. The rest of the Gemara is just going to talk about what is the chiddush of nazir, but the answer is a good answer that you need a pasuk to say is bal ta'acher on the chatas of a nazir, even though you know that there's bal ta'acher on a regular chatas because something's unique. And the rest of the Gemara is now my chiddush. That's the Gemara's question now. Try to just get that on. What is the chiddush? I think there are going to be a couple of answers maybe, so we'll try to do as we go along. My chiddush. So that's what the Gemara's going to work on now. When a person makes a neder, so we said in the beginning of the Masechta that the way that a neder really works is that you're saying I'm making this thing prohibited. The same way a korban is also the same way the mizbeach is also. You have to be matased on something. You have to say it's also like something. So if you say that it's also like a korban, but it has to be a korban that you're able to invent, so to speak. Yeah, that you're able to initiate. But a korban chatas, if someone didn't do an avera, he's can't bring a korban chatas. So the Gemara says that first the Gemara says maybe the chiddush of what's unique about a korban chatas nazir is that you can invent a chatas nazir. You can't say I'm going to bring a chatas. If you're not a nazir, there's only a certain time that you become obligated to bring a chatas nazir. So maybe the chiddush of the chatas of nazir is that a person can't be matfis. Matfis means to seize onto it. It means when you want, like mitophasis, to seize. So when you want to say I'm answering something, I'm answering this loaf of bread like a korban. So if he says I'm answering it like a chatas nazir, so it doesn't take effect. It's not a good neder. Maybe that's what's unique about it. The one says it's not unique. That's not unique because every chatas, the Gemara chatas chaylev, which means a chatas you bring for eating chaylev. Chaylev is a kind of a fat that's also to eat. It's chayv kares, and if someone did a b'shogig, it's chayv korban. And for some reason, this is the term that we call the regular korban chatas. The regular korban chatas is called the chatas chaylev. It could have been called the chatas dam. It could have been called the chatas of what?
Chatas chazir.
Chazir is only allowed. But chat dam and chaylev is kares, and arayis, a lot of arayis is kares. Yom Kippur, eating on Yom Kippur. There's a lot of examples, but it always says chatas chaylev. I think that someone in the Mefarshim say because that's the most common avera that people have, every avachatas, because we don't have it so much. You don't get any chaylev into your house, but in the old days you shechted. How do you get chaylev? You shechted an animal, and you have chaylev right there in the backyard. So you have to make sure that you cut it away. So chaylev was common. So that's a pshat. The reason why it says chatas chaylev is because it's a common avera, but it just means chatas. Whatever the other pshatim also. Anyway, the Gemara says, what are you telling me that it's unique? Nothing's unique about a chatas nazir in this aspect. You also can't say, I'm going to answer this loaf of bread the same way like a korban chatas. If you're not chayv a korban chatas, so you can't say it's us like a korban chatas, you have no korban chatas. So that's not unique. So we'll try another chiddush, which we're still looking. We're looking for the harei chatas chaylev shem atfisa b'neder v'over b'bal ta'acher. So you say there is a bal ta'acher. We know there's a bal ta'acher in regular korbanos because the Rosh Hashanah. And you want to say that you need a special pasuk to say this bal ta'acher also on a chatas nazir because it's unique. What's unique? Because you can't be matfis ben nazir. You can't be matfis any chatas ben nazir. So we're on the lookout. We're going to try number 2. Elamai chidushay. What's the unique thing about a korban, about a nazir? Chatas na. This hakadat chamena hol ve'im amar reini nazir afilu min chatas and heavy nazir lakol. That we know that a nazir has a lot of halachas. He's not allowed to take a haircut. He's not allowed to eat grapes, etc. He's not allowed to come to the mace. What if he just made himself? He said, "I'm a nazir not to eat chartzon." Chartzon means pits, the pits of the grapes. As if he's saying, I'm going to be a partial nazir. I'm a nazir for one thing. I don't want to be a nazir for everything. I'm a nazir for one thing. So the halacha is that he's a nazir for everything. That's a chiddush. That even though he only accepted upon himself one aspect of nazirus, everything falls on him.
Why does it say a filu? A filu sounds like it's only the pits.
Right, that's good. Even if he only accepted himself from the pits, he becomes a nazir for everything. I'm a really nazir afilu, like a filu only. A filu rock. He's still a nazir. Every nazir like go. So that's so. Therefore, you might think that's a chiddush, and therefore, maybe that's the reason why you shouldn't be open about because something's unique about nazirus, not about the carbon nazirus, but about the halachas of nazirus. Something's unique about it that you, even if you accepted a small thing, you become usher on everything. So maybe that's the reason why you should not be bal ta'acher. Should not be bal ta'acher. So kamash malan. So that's why you have to have another pasuk to say that there's a bal ta'acher and a chatas nazir also. The Gemara doesn't like that because first of all, it's not so simple. Hanicha. 4 lines up. That's only if you hold like that. If you hold that, if you made yourself a nazir from the pits, you're a nazir for everything. But not everyone holds like that. That only become nazir if you said I'm nazir and everything the Torah says. So then you don't have a good Torah. It's ma'ikal, but there's no such halacha. It's not unique. And also, second of all, that doesn't, the logic doesn't make sense. We're talking about is that we know in general there is bal ta'acher on a chatas, and we want to think a reason that there shouldn't be bal ta'acher on a chatas of a nazir. So you say because it's unique, you have to find a unique leniency, not a unique chumrah. And this is a chumrah over here. This doesn't make the logic is the opposite. What's it called? Counterintuitive. That counter logical over here because. The uniqueness is going to be something which is a leniency. You have another leniency. Just because you found a unique chumrah is not a reason why you should have a unique kula. That doesn't make sense. So if we know by every chatas there is bal ta'acher, and we want to know about a chatas nazir, also should be bal ta'acher. What do you say? Because it's unique chumrah, then all the more so there should be bal ta'acher on a chatas nazir. So also didn't work. This one didn't work either. We have already 2 tries. Both of them didn't work. The Gemara tries try number 3. What is the uniqueness of Nazir? That's going to be try number 3. So Gila halachas mishlashtan. Yeah, shlashtan means 3 karbanos. Rashi says, Rashi on top says there are 3 karbanos the Nazir is supposed to bring. Olachatas and a shlamim, and he's supposed to bring all 3 of them, and then it seems to be megaleach. I'm not sure if I'm saying right, but that's what it sounds like. And if he didn't bring only the chatas, only and 1 korban, and and he was megaleach, it's also good enough. Even though he's supposed to bring all 3 korbanos and then be megaleach, im lohevi yala chatas megaleach alav hainu chiddush. Mashenk and shakabanos that you don't have a leniency that you're yotze if you did part of it. You have to, whatever you have to do, you have to do. So that Mashenk and shar korbanos. Shar korbanos means if he did only the, I think Rashi means now, I didn't cop this, that maybe only if he brought the chatas, if he brought only the ola, only the shlomim, maybe over there it's not enough. But alachas mishlashtan, ve'im lo hevi alachatas migalech alav, Mashenk and b'shar korbanos. I'm not sure if I'm saying right, but that's what the words might be. So there's a chiddush over here, a unique chiddush lakula, that if you only did one of the korbanos, you're yotze the giluach. I'll just highlight that also, since we highlighted the other ones already. This is try number 3.
But not the shlamim or the chatas.
The chatas, it says if you're magalech on the chatas is good enough. The words alachas, I thought any one of the 3. Rashi seems to say only on the chatas. I'm not sure if that's what Rashi means. I didn't look into this. But you might think this is the leniency that if you did the lachas after only bringing 1 korban, in parentheses maybe only the chatas, so then you might think lo lavra le bal tacher. Maybe that's a unique kula, and therefore there shouldn't be, since you see a kula about it, so maybe there shouldn't be bal ta'acher on it either. What? There shouldn't be bal ta'acher on the chatas.
On the chatas.
Because you see that it's something unique about it, kula, that if you brought that, that's good enough. Kamash malan that there's a bal ta'acher even on the chatas nazir. So we tried 3 tries. The 3rd try did work. The Gemara goes back to try number. Let's roll back a second. To try number 1 means 1, 2, and 3. The first one we knocked off. Second one we knocked off. The 3rd one we didn't. Now we're going back to the first one and reviving it again. The first one was that there's something unique about a chatas nazir that if you made it, if it was matvis bechatas nazir, he said I'm going to make this thing also like a chatas nazir. It doesn't take effect. And the Gemara's kasha was every chatas is like that. What's unique about it? Now the Gemara goes back to that one. The boy say, "My chidushim mishum de lamatfasi beneder." No, like we said in the first teretz over there. The reason why it's unique is because you can't make a neder if you said it's going to be like a chatas nazir. But the kakashalach, he has the kash on that. Chatas chaylev. Every chatas chaylev is also that you can make matfas and a neder on a chatas. Chatas chaylev again means just regular chatas. Notice the difference. Chatas chaylev kasi lechapara. Chatas nazir lamayasya. Chatas chaylev, it comes in order to atone for him. So then you can understand that that's more chomer. But Chatas Nazir doesn't come for that. It means the Nazir didn't do any Avera. There are Midrashim to talk about what's the Avera that he shouldn't have abstained. He shouldn't have abstained from what Hashem gave him. But the Pshat, in the Pasha Pshat, there's no Avera over there. And therefore the Gemara says it's not coming for Kapara. It's not coming to atone for anything. So you might think that that's the reason why it would be unique. The Gemara says, I'll show you other things that the other Chatos also that are not for a sin. Yoledes. There's also midrashim over there that Yoledes, she swears she's not going to have relations again after she gave birth. It was so painful. But again, in the Pashup Pshat, she didn't do any avera, and therefore you see that even a chatas which is not for an avera, also there's a bal ta'acher. So why is it a chiddush that chatas nazir is bal ta'acher? At least we understand that also that chatas of Yoledes is permitting her to eat kachim, but the chatas of the nazir is not being matir him to eat kachim. So therefore, the Gemara finished with that. That's something also a good teretz. Thank you, Shikar. Thank you, much appreciated. That's also a reason why it would be unique, and goes back to it seems to be going back to the point about that it's not matis baneder. All this Gemara was coming to just to zoom out a second. The Gemara was talking about that there's a bal ta'acher by Nazir. That was the brisa. It's bal ta'acher. What's bal ta'acher? As soon as we that was the whole amud now. Yeah. What is the bal ta'acher? As soon as you made yourself a Nazir, so then you're a Nazir. So the Gemara had a couple of terutzim, and we were just analyzing the last teretz. But the first teretz was that if he said, "I'm going to become a Nazir before I die," second would right away. Second, because he made a neder in the basic forest, and you have to activate the zeros of Tara as soon as possible. The third one was that there's a bal ta'acher on the tiklachas he should do as soon as possible. The last one was there's a bal ta'acher on the korban, then he should bring it as soon as possible. That the Gemara kasha, that's a side kasha that of course is bal ta'acher on the korban. Any korban chatas there is, and that the Gemara said because it's unique, and that's why it's a chiddush. And the Gemara tried to find what's the unique thing about the korban chatas. That was what the Gemara tried. These three tries to, and the first and the third seemed to work. That there is something unique about it. Therefore there is a chiddush that there's bal ta'acher on a chatas nazir. The Gemara starts a new point now. That's like the two dots we could put over there. That new Gemara, I think, is starting. New Gemara. Amama. He said earlier in the discussion, Uman Nedarim ma'av mefer b'nidrei bito, bal mefer nidrei yishta, nazir sav mefer naziris bito, bal mefer naziris ishta. So also part of the brisa in the comparison of the custom between Nedarim and Nazir. So I said another comparison is just like by a neder, a father could nullify the vows of his daughter and of his wife, like it says in Pashas Matos. Also by Nazirus. Also, the father could do that also. If the daughter or the wife made themselves a Nazirah, so the husband or the father could nullify it. Lamali Hekesha, Tasi B'Mamasin in Nedarim. The one says, why do you have to have a special drush to tell you that? Why is it different than any neder? Here it says a mamatzinu, and says you don't need hekesh. That the Mefarshim here say doesn't mean dafka mamatzinu. It means it's like any kind of neder. Why should you think that it's different? If a woman accepted upon herself the zeros, why is it different than any neder that the husband could nullify or the father? So too, you don't need a special drasha to say. Why do you need a special drasha to say that the husband and the father can nullify the naziros? It should be like any neder. The Gemara says no, maybe there's something special. Dilma Gabi Nedarim who the make from Mishim Dalo is like Itzusa. Abba Gabi Naziris, this like Itzusa, the Stam Naziris Lam Yom, Ein Malo Kamashma. You might think that there's not so bad. If a woman made a vow to become a Nazira, it's not so reason why the father or the husband should be able to nullify because it's something which is limited. A regular neder someone makes is unlimited. If she didn't specify how long she's going to be usher in something, shasta herself an apple, so it's usher indefinitely. But when someone says I'm a Nazir, so without say, if you don't specify, so it's for 30 days, so it's only 30 days. So you might think that the Torah doesn't give the right to the father or the husband to nullify it. Kamash Malan, even though it's only 30 days, also he has the right to nullify it. That was all on the first couple of words that it said Kinuye Nedarim Nedarim, and the Gemara went on a tangent to explain. The Mishnah continued and said, that was the first example where he said it's not Kino Yivim, it's a Yad. Omer, he says, Mudrani Mimcha. here it says Mudarani Mimcha. So the Mishnah said that that's considered a neder, and the Gemara explained it's not a kino. He didn't say any. He said the word neder, but there's a chiddush over here that even though he didn't finish the sentence, also we finish the sentence for him, and it means that he's taka aser. Amar Shmuel. So now this is going to be the one statement of Shmuel's the Gemara is going to be working on. Let's just try to highlight it, and then we'll get what the Gemara has to. Amar Shmuel v'kulan ad sheyomer shani ochalach shani tomlach. That's the words of Shmuel. Amar Shmuel. This was Shmuel's thing. That we read the Mishnah also. We had to try to say pshat. It says in the Mishnah that someone said mudrani mimcha, mufreshani mimcha, murukani mimcha, and then it said shani ochalach shani tomlach. So the mudar or mufrash or muruchak, those are all good terms for saying that I'm answering myself. And the Mishnah said also shani ochelach, shani toimlach, that I'm going to eat, that I'm not going to eat, that I'm not going to taste. And when we said the Mishnah itself, he said a little bit like it sounds like the beginning of the sentence and half of the sentence, but it didn't say that it's also like a carbon or anything. That surely is a yad. That was an unspoken word, and that's good enough, even though he didn't say it, that's called a yad. But Shmuel says that when you read the first three parts of the Mishnah, ani mudar mimcha, mufreshani mimcha, murukani mimcha, that I'm separated from you. It's only if he ended off the last words, either that I'm not going to eat from you or that I'm not going to taste anything from you. But if he just would have said the first words alone, the halacha wouldn't be true. That's what Shmuel seemed to say, and the Gemara is going to try to analyze what he might have meant. That the beginning of the Mishnah that says mudar mimcha, mufresh mimcha, meruchak mimcha is only if he also continued ad sheyomar. All these cases, b'kulam, there's three cases that he said that is us. It's only if he also finished the end of the sentence that I'm not going to eat, that I'm not going to taste. And the Gemara says, is that true? If someone just said those words alone, mudrani mimcha, is that not enough? Meisvei, it says in the Brisa that it is enough. It says mudrani mimcha or mufreshani mimcha. Mudrani is the same thing as mudrani. It's just what do you call a contraction? You took two words and put it into one. So mudrani, mufreshani, murukani mimcha. Here it says I raise the asa. So it stops. It doesn't continue. Now Mishnah continues. Shani yochalach, shani tomlach. So Shmuel might have said that the beginning of the Mishnah means together with the end of the Mishnah. You have to put it all together. But here it doesn't say that. Here it says this alone is asa. The Brisa continues. Shani yochalach, shani tomlach. I raise asa. It means the Brisa does say the same as the Mishnah, but it's divided into two cases. Here it says I raise asa, and then it says again I raise asa. If the Mishnah alone says on all these cases only the second asa, so you could say that it means the beginning sentence with half of the sentence. There's three examples of the beginning of the sentence and two examples of the end of the sentence. But here in the Brisa, it says I raise asa on the first three alone. That means that it's not connected to the end. So is that not a kasha on Shmuel? Shmuel says that it's only asa if he said the end of the sentence also. Shani ochelach, shani tomlach. The Gemara says not terrible. We can answer the Brisa also. That the Brisa itself means to say that, even though it says asa, but it goes on to explain itself only like put in the bamed v'amamur. The Gemara is not going to be happy with this soon, but at this point, the Gemara says, don't be so.
He said these things with the first phrase,
right? That when does the first phrase make you usher? Only on the condition, only in a case where you also finished it off. That's what Med Vamamur and Shani Yochel Shani Tom. But the Gemara says there's a Brisa that says that differently. That's going to make it more difficult to do any editing on it. But Tanya Yiprat says the Brisa differently. And in our Brisa it said what we would call 1, 2, 3. I raise the usher and then 4, 5. This other Brisa is going to say 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3. It says in the Brisa, Shani Yochalach Shani Tom Lachasa, which was what we had was 4 and 5. And then it says, Mudrani Mimcham Fashani Mimcham Murkani Mikar Asa. What are you going to do in this Brisa? It's mashma beferish that when it says Mudrani Mufashani Murkani, that it's also even if he didn't say Shani Yochalach Shani Tom. But the Gemara gets out of this also wiggles out of it. Tani Hachi. Ukivar Alma Mudrani. That Shani Yochalach Shani Tom, if he earlier said Mudrani, Mufreshani, Meruchkani, that's us. It means it's not, the Gemara is not giving up. That even if it says 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, it says 4, 5, if he said 1, 2, 3 before. Some of what's the Gemara would be mashma, Shani Yochalach, Shani Tomlach, also is not Asr alone, but the Gemara doesn't mean that. It means that Mudrani, Mufreshani, Meruchkani wouldn't be Asr only if you had at the end of it, you had Shani Yochalach, Shani Tomlach, even though it's very dachik in the words, the Gemara is still trying to uphold Shmuel's words.
Ukvar here would be like already.
Right, that he already had said Mudrani. He said Mudrani earlier. He said if he said Mudrani earlier, when is Mudrani going to be us? If he said Shani Yochalach, Shani Tomlach afterwards, which is very pushing. But the Gemara says Yachi Hainu Reisha. So Hainu Reisha would sound as if this whole Brisa, this first Brisa before and this Brisa at the end is all the same. The Rosh says that it doesn't seem to be the same brisa, seems to be two different brises. The word ratio just means it's the same as other brisa, and the Gemara doesn't think that the fact that it turned around the order, the Gemara thinks that it's trying to say something. It's trying to say that even the opposite order, and not like Shmuel said, so the Gemara doesn't accept it. But Asur Lamali. This we ask the kasha right away. That is very, very dochak. It says in the brisa 2 times already. The market message right away in the earlier teretzim also. Even the Bamed Vomamurim, this first teretz, even when it wasn't so dochak, also the Gemara says now that's a big dochak because it says I raise Asur 2 times. The brisa interrupted with has I raise Asur. So to say that afterwards it says Bamed Vomamurim, and then it says again I raise Asur, very dochak. So the Gemara doesn't accept that. So the Gemara is attacking Shmuel. Shmuel, you seem to say that it's only Asur if you said Modranim or Fushanim or Chani, it's only us if you also ended off Shani Ochalach, Shani Tomlach. The Brisa doesn't say it like that. So at this point, the Gemara doesn't understand Shmuel. Ella Amar Shmuel. So the Gemara is going to present Shmuel differently. Taima the Amar Shani Ochalach, Shani Tomlach, who the Aser v'Chaver Mutter. Aval top of the page. Amar Modrani Hemachach l'Chudei Shnei Nasurim. So a whole different idea now. When you say in the Mishnah, we learned Mudrani Memcha or Frashani, I'm separated, I'm the distanced, I'm mudar. All those cases means that the speaker is answering himself. If you go to the beginning of, let's scroll down, fast to the beginning of the parak. Here, when it said all these cases, all these cases, the speaker becomes usher. I'm answering myself in you. The speaker becomes usher. Really, a person could answer his friend also. How do you do that? I am answering myself on you. I'm answering my property on you. So you have to have some connection. You can't just I can't just go over to somebody and say, you're also to do something. Who are you? But I could answer myself to benefit from you. I could answer my property that you shouldn't be allowed to benefit from my property. So there is, or for myself. I'm answering myself, you shouldn't be able to benefit. I'm the chefza. I'm making myself also, you shouldn't be able to benefit from me. It is possible to do that. So, but the possibility is there.
Sound like a restraining order?
It's a neder. That's the chiddush of a neder that you could create an isser. How could you can't create? I can't create an isser that you should be yasser to Moshe. Moshe should be yasser to you. But I could make it. I could create that I should be yasser to you because I have jurisdiction on myself, and I could answer you that you shouldn't be allowed to benefit from me because I'm answering myself. I have jurisdiction on myself, on my property, on myself.
You could say that you're asking him to come into your house.
Right, I'm answering my house on you.
Oh,
I can't answer you really, but I'm answering my house that you can't benefit from my house because I'm answering the house. So that's good to know. But now the Gemara is putting it into the issue of the Mishnah. When somebody says Mudrani Mimcha, the word simply would mean that I am usher from you.
I'm sorry, he started with Shanani Achela. Shani Achela.
Yeah,
At the bottom of the page. Elamar Shmuel.
I'll get into the words in a second just to get the concept, and then we'll get into the words. The Gemara is saying that there's an issue about who is he answering? Is he answering himself or is he answering his fellow man? So till now we learned the whole time he's only talking about answering himself, and the word Midranim or Frashani or Chani, all this means
had to be for him.
that I'm answering it. Now the Gemara is saying that it's not so simple that the words mean that. Midranim also could be taken to mean that I'm answering myself on you.
From you, honestly, from you. You may not benefit from it.
And that what Shmuel came to say, that the Mishnah that says that usher, which means that the speaker is usher, it's only if he ended off Shani Ochalach, Shani Tomlach, that already is specifying that I'm the one who's not going to eat from you. I'm not going to taste from you. So if he ended off and he specified that I'm the one who's becoming usher, then it's usher one way, which means I'm usher from you. But if he didn't say the end, let's say only would have said Madrani, he wouldn't have ended off Shani Ochalach, then it's possible that both of them are going to be usher. It's going to be a two-way street. That he's answering himself to benefit from. I'm answering myself to benefit from you. I'm answering you to benefit from me. That's the idea. The Gemara is saying, let's see the words. Like Yaakov wants to see it in the words, which is very important. Elam Shmuel meant to say, "Time Adam Shani Yochalach Shani Tomlach." Who does the Chaver Moter? Dafke, if you end it off. What does Shmuel say? Shmuel said these words. Amar Shmuel, Bekulin is only if you said that Shel Mashani Yochalach Shani Tomlach. Till now we took it to mean that if he didn't say these last words, not usher at all. That the Gemara disproved. You're usher even if he just said the first words. But now the Gemara is saying he meant to say that it's only usher a one-way street. Right. It's only that's when who the usher b'chaver mutter. That's the case where the Mishnah says that the speaker is usher and the other one is mutter because I said Shani Yochalach. I'm not going to eat yours. But if he didn't say that, Aval top of the page, he just said Amudrani mimcha. Himach is like mimach.
Or lechudei means that's the only thing he
Only
said.
he didn't end off the shani yochalach shani tomlach.
Then they're both
Then
gonna
shneim
be-
masurim.
Very good.
Then it's the two-way street. Both of them will be yasser. So he's saying that only if you said he specified that I'm becoming yasser to you, then am I yasser to you and you're not yasser to me. But if he didn't end off, so then they'd be yasser both ways. And you find Rabbi Yosef Reb Chanina says that. If he does say those words, mudarani mincha, so then both of them are yasser. So Shmuel also holds like that, and therefore he said that the Mishnah that's mashma that only the speaker is yasser is because he ended off Shani Yochalav Shani Tom, like we specified, I'm the one who's going to become us. The more is a kasha from a Mishnah later on, it says on the side that it's the Mem Zayin. Further halfway through the Masechta. So over there it says that Mamash this case, that when someone says a certain term, is yassering himself, is yassering his friend, it says in the Mishnah, Hareini Alacha Cherem. That's the words that he said. I am to you Cherem. Cherem doesn't mean excommunication like we use it nowadays. It means hektish, neder, aser. So if you say, right, so I am to you Cherem. What do you think these words mean? Who becomes aser? The speaker or the spoken to? So the Mishnah says, Amudir aser. Avalamadeh lo. The one who the mother is the one who speaks. The mother is one of the speakers called the mother, and the mother is the one who was spoken of to. So if he says, that's why I highlighted, maybe it'll make it easier. Another color here. Hareini alacha cherem. What's the halacha? Mudir aser aval madir lo. These words mean that the one spoken to is aser, but the one who spoke is mutter.
I thought the Muda was the initiator.
I don't think so. The Madir is the initiator. The Madir is the one who made the neder. And the Muda is the one who's affected by it. The one who, not affected, one who was spoken about. The neder was done to him. How would be another word if you want to say another word? A matzil and a mutzal. The matzil is the lifeguard. The matzil is the one who's saving. And the mutzal is the one who saved. So the Madir is the one who made the neder. And the Muda is the one who the neder was made about. So if you say Irani Allah, this is not this opposite case we're talking about the Mishnah, right? But here it says that it's only one-way street. The Gemara is comparing it that if you say that if you don't say specify that it's only a one-way street, it's a two-way street. So the Gemara is saying the way you're saying that if I said I'm usher, it also can be understood that the other one is usher also. So if you said the other one is usher, also should be understood that you're also usher. And here the Mishnah says that it's only a one-way street. If someone said I am Cherem, that means that the other one is not a lot of benefit from me. Like I asked it myself. I say to my friend, I'm usher on you. So what do I mean I'm usher? That you're not a lot of benefit from me. That the one who made, I'm a lot of benefit from you. I just asked it myself, but I could benefit from you. So the Gemara says, no, we're going to take Shmuel is right. Rabbi Chanina is right. And Shmuel, they're all saying the same thing, that Madrani Memcha is a two-way street. Both of them become Masar. The case in the Mishnah that says that it's only a one-way street, going to Parish, as if only in the case where he specified, Va'at alai lo.
The default position is a two-way street.
That's what I'm saying, right? Very good. That's the way to say it. That Shmuel said it, and he's going Rabbi Chanina said that the default is going to be a two-way street, only if you specify. The Mishnah says that's only one-way street is if specified. The Gemara asks the question further. It says in the Mishnah over there also, At alai cherem. This is the Mishnah also. It's continuing the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, if you said, you are cherem upon me, so the Mishnah seems to say against it. It says it's a one-way street. I know the Rasa lo. It says that only the one who the initiated, the one who spoke is Asa, but the one who was spoken about is Mutter. This is the opposite case. This is similar to our case. You are upon me cherem. That means I consider you cherem. What does that mean? That you're a piece of Issa and I'm not a lot of benefit from you. I know the Rasa, the one who made the neder is Asa, but the one who was spoken to about, so he's Mutter. So again, you see that it's a one-way street on the default. And you're saying that the default is a two-way street. Again, the Gemara is going to answer, Kigon, the Parish, no Alecha lo. Only if he specified that the Mishnah over there, it says it's only a one-way street. It's one-way street, it's only because he specified. If he said that I am a cherem, it's only a one-way street. If he specified and said, Va'ano Alecha lo, but I am not cherem upon you. But if he didn't specify, the default is going to be a two-way street. He was trying to save Shmuel and Rebbe Chanina, even though it's against the Pashut on the Mishnah, but being matrik the Mishnah specified it's only us or one way. But the Gemara continues. the Mishnah is it's very hard. But so you want to say that if you want to default, both of them also it's a two-way street. The Sefer says Hamelitani Sefer. This also is the Mishnah. That the Mishnah says. It says it wants to say a case that both of them also it says openly, I'm going to be a cherem upon you, you're a cherem upon me. That's the case that has asur. Hadeinu, that's the Mishnah. The Gemara explains the word hadein is not usually used in other masechtas. This is one of those Nedarim terms. Hadeinu the shneim asurim mastama who asur v'chaver mutter. Only this case when you specified both are asur, then you have to specify a two-way street in order to be asur both ways. But if you didn't, it's only a one-way street. So this is all against Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina, and Shmuel. So I'm going to do something that maybe I'll come back tomorrow and change, but we're going to skip a couple of lines. I think that the Rosh, I'm not sure. I think the Rosh says that it's not a good girsa. I couldn't get it straight on Shabbos. I don't learn as much as I don't, not in quantity, not in quality. So I think that it says that it's a hard girsa over here. So I'm going to temporarily change it. I'll try to find out tomorrow if I did right. Put this in parentheses meanwhile. Couple of lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that they say it's not a simple gersa. So we're still trying to find out what Shmuel meant. First, we thought that Shmuel said that if you just said the first words, which Rani and Fashani, nothing's asur. The more proof that's not true. The more proof righteous that it's not true, that is enough to become asur. The more tried, it didn't work. The second try, the Gemara says, is that if you just say one, Yossi with Rani and Fashani, it's such a two-way street. And you have to say Shani Yochalach in order to make it only a one-way street. The more disprove that also, because it's not true. On default, there's only a one-way street. So what did Shmuel say? Ela me kor Shmuel hachiyitma. This is what Shmuel really meant. Time of the Amar Shani Yochalach Shani Tomlach who the ain who asur ela ba'achila. Amadrani mimcha asur afilu bana. A whole new shot that Shmuel meant to say. What is the asur to do? He said Mudrani mimcha Mufashani. What is the asur to do? So it says in the Mishnah. If you say in the Mishnah, it says cases that I'm not going to eat from you, I'm not going to taste from you. So it's only limited to food for eating and tasting, only if he said so. But what if he didn't say that? He just said, Mudrani mimcha, Mufashani mimcha. So he is asur. But he's asur on everything, because any kind of anah, he didn't specify which anah. He said, I'm asur, I'm distant from you, I'm separated from you, I'm mudder from you. So then, just see the words inside, Shmuel meant like this, only because he said, Shani Yochalach, Shani Tomlach, that's why he's only asur in food. But if he would have just said Mudrani mimcha without explaining Shani Ochalach, Shani Tomlach, asur afilu bana. That was trying number 3 to explain Shmuel. Ihachi leima Shmuel lachi. The more is a kasha with that Shmuel should have said so. Ve'im lo amar ela Shani Ochalach, Shani Tomlach, ein asur ela b'achila. He should have said so. The words are not like that. If you go back to the words of Shmuel, what were Shmuel's words? We have it highlighted over here. Here it was. Those are the words Shmuel said. We have highlighted in yellow at the beginning of the sugya. All the cases is only when he said Ani Yochalach, Ani Tomlach. It's not enough to say that he meant to say that if he said just Mufashani Mudrani, that it's us even Anah. It doesn't sound like that. He should have said so. He should have said that he would have been asur ba'anah also. The words don't sound like that. Let's see the words now in the Gemara. If so, Shmuel should have said so. Where is that? Shmuel said, should have said that. These words. But that say the Mishnah is only means to say the Mishnah is only talking about if he said these words and then he's asur b'achila. He should just say that you're asur, and asur can mean in everything. The Mishnah can mean asur in everything. And he says if you didn't say Shani Yochel, Shani Tom, you're asur in everything. If you said Shani Yochel, then you're only asur in food. Try number 4 to explain Shmuel. Time of the Amar Shani Yochalach Shani Tom Lachu the Asur. Aval Amar Mudrani Mimach Lo Mashma the Amar Asur. My timer Mudrani Mimcha Lo Mishtina Badach Mashma. Ufashani Mimcha the Lo Avidna Ichmach Masel Matan Mashma. Uvachkani Mimcha the Lo Kamein Badal Ram Stilach Mashma. That he's meant to say that if you don't say that you're talking about food or hana, so then we don't see in the words alone that he answered anything. It could be when he says Mudrani Mimcha Mufashani, means that I'm not going to talk to you. And no neder, it's not a neder at all. Or if he said Mufashani, I'm separated from you, that means I'm not going
to talk to you. It's not the end of it all.
and it's not making, it's not answering something,
Not
right? It's not answering
It's
something,
not us.
and nothing becomes usher. The words are that only if he said, I'm not going to eat to you, or told you could also say, I know, whatever you specify. But if he does that with Rani Mimcha alone, it's not much that he meant to make it isser, to make it a neder, that something's usher. And it could be that if he does that in my time, and why is that so? Because if he said Rani Mimcha, it can mean I'm not going to talk to you. Mufashani Mimcha might mean that I'm not going to do business with you. Murchani Mimcha might mean that I'm not going to stand within your dollar amas, but he's not answering anything. So that's what Shmuel meant to mean. That was, I think, the fourth try you did for Shmuel. The one Amud Bey says that now we're getting into a sugya called Yadayim Mochichos, Yadayim Shen Mochichos. Because of Shmuel, Yadayim Shen Mochichos Lo Havi Yadayim. If you're saying this shot, so you seem to say that Shmuel holds that Yadayim, this would be like a term that deserves to be maybe highlighted. Yadayim Shen Mochichos. And it's going to be yes Yadayim, not Yadayim. The word mochiach means like it's obvious, it's proven, it's maybe a better word. Yadayim mochichos means something that it's what? Obvious, something to that effect. That we know what we know for sure. It's clear. It's defined, more defined. Yadayim shem mochichos means that it's not so defined. Handle on it. So he said that even though you didn't say the whole sentence,
Or an extension. You just said.
yeah. So we said that the Mishnah does say Yadayim, that Yados Nedarim. That even though he didn't finish the whole sentence, we finish it off for him. But the question is, if it's not so clear what he meant to say, is that good enough? Also, we're going to end it off. Here, the question is, when you said that the Gemara says it's not so clear that you meant to answer him in food or benefit, maybe that's not going to speak to him, you're not going to do business with him, these kind of things. So that's called Yadayim Shen Mochichos. And if Shmuel says that it's not usher, that means he holds that Yadayim Shen Mochichos, lo having Yadayim. That's not considered a yad unless it's obvious and clear cut what he meant to say. So is that what Shmuel holds? If that you say, we finally came to Avshan and Shmuel, we tried 1, 2, 3, nothing worked. Fourth try. The fourth try comes out that Shmuel says that it's not a good yad only if it was clear cut. And if you just said, with Rani Mimcha, it's not clear, so we're not going to finish off the sentence with if it's not clear. So is that what Shmuel holds? Yeah. In Shmuel Mukam La'alamasisik Av Yehuda Damu Yadam Shen Mechichas Lav Yadayim. Yes, there is a machlokus about it. The Gemara is not going to be a machlokus Tanoim. If you have to have Yadayim Mechichos or even Yadayim Shen Mechichas is good enough. And if we want to say that Shmuel holds that Yadayim Shen Mechichas is not good, that means he holds like Rabbi Yehuda. Is that what you're saying? Yes. In Shmuel is going to say that our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Yehuda that says Yadayim Shen Mechichas is not Yadayim. And now we're going to be on the machlokus where we have that. It says on the side that this is a get and pay hey, has to do with a get. Gufo shall get. What is the text of a get? What is written in a divorce document? That you are permitted to marry anybody. The husband is now releasing his wife, that as long as she was married, she wasn't allowed to marry somebody else. And now he says, Rabbi says that's not good enough. Rabbi Omer, he has to continue in the text. It was following the Dane. This is the text. This is Aramaic. The first verse happened to be Hebrew. But the continuation, the Gemara says in Aramaic, the Dane, the heavy lechimi noi, Sefer Tiruchen v'Geresh Shavukin, and this is going to be to you from me a script or a document of Tiruchen. Tiruchen means to be megaresh, driving away, and a letter of release. The Gemara's emphasis is going to be on the word minoi, lachi minoi, that is from me to you. And it doesn't say that I'm giving it to you. It just says you are permitted, you are released. It doesn't say that he's talking, he's giving it to her. It's not saying that it's from him. Maybe he's just saying the facts, and the facts are not true till he does it. So Rabbi Yehuda holds you have to say clearly that I am hereby releasing you. Rabbi just say this is you are hereby you are released. You are released doesn't say that I'm the one who's releasing you. So the one makes a machlokus out of this. Yadayim Shen Mochichos, that it's not so clear in the words that he meant to say. The filling in the blank space is not so clear. So Rabbanan says it's good enough. Is good enough. Rabbi says it's not good enough. You have to also explain this is to you from me. And Shmuel is going to hold like Rabbi Yehuda, and he says at least he says our Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda. Thank you for the water.
Amen.
So Shmuel says our Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda. Therefore, he says that the beginning of the Mishnah says with Rani Memchaz Aser is only if you also finish it up and end of the Mishnah by saying not to eat. How does it go? Shani yochalach. But if he just would have said, Midranim Yimcha, we don't know what that means. Maybe it means that he's not going to talk to him. The Gemara asks, why the small have to get so involved? Why say that that's found in the Mishnah and it goes according to Rabbi Yehuda? He could have said that's not found in the Mishnah and it goes according to Rabbanan. Maybe Midranim Yimcha is also good enough without saying Shani yochalach, and it goes according to Rabbanan. Means we're not saying that there's only one sheet. Shmuel is not saying that he doesn't know there's a Rabbanan. We just said there's Machlokas Rabbanan and Rabbi Yehuda if you have to have a Yadayim Mechichos or not. So what bothered him that he had to say that our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Yehuda and say that the Reisha of Mishnah is going together with the Sefer? It's one big sentence. Let him say that the Reisha alone also would have been Aser, and it goes according to Rabbanan that say Dam Shen Mechichos also is enough to Aser. That's more discussion now. Why does Shmuel have to press to say that our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Yehuda and say that when it says Areinu Mudranim Yimcha, it's only together with the words of Shani Yochalach? Look like Rabbanan. Then I forgot the India Daim Mochichos. Rabbanan, you also agree that there is such a sheet of Rabbanan that even if it's not Mochichos, also good enough. Like he says, Teres L'Chaladim is good enough. So our Mishnah could have been explained that he said Areinu Mudranim Yimcha, and it is also because even though Saddam Shen Mochichos, Rabbanan says it's good enough. The Gemara answers, the Mishnah was difficult. The Shmuel means Shmuel saw in the Mishnah alone that he holds like Rabbi Yehuda, you have to have Yadayim Achichos. Amai Tani Shani Ochelach, Shani Tomlach, listening Shani Ochel, Shani Tohen. Even when the Mishnah says in these words that it says Lach, Shani Ochel Lach, Shani Tohen Lach, that I'm not going to eat from yours, I'm not going to taste from yours, but I have to say the word Lach. If he's talking to somebody, he says, I'm making a neder or whatever, Shani, I'm not going to eat. To what? He's talking to somebody. So it's understood that it's you. So according to Rabbanan, it would have been good enough. From here we could see that you do have to have Yadayim Mechichos. You see that our Mishnah you have to have Yadayim Mechichos. If the Mishnah you have to have Yadayim Mechichos, so Shmuel went back to the beginning of the Mishnah and said, if you say Mudranim Yimcha, it's also not so clear. Maybe he meant to say, I'm not going to talk to you. So our Mishnah must mean that you said the Reisha together with the Sefer. So the Gemara comes out that Shmuel is just saying there's such a machlokes. But he's not. I'm not saying taking sides. There's a machlokes of Yehuda and the Rabbanan. I see in our Mishnah holds like Rabbi Yehuda that you have to have Yadayim Mechichos, and therefore you have to explain the Mishnah. He said the whole thing because Midranim Yimcha alone would be Yadayim Shen Mechichos. So we went through three pshatim that didn't work in Shmuel. We got to the last pshat, and he's not saying an opinion. He's saying that our Mishnah must hold Yadayim Shen Mechichos is not good. The Gemara continues. Itma Yadayim Shen Mechichos. What if somebody said this halacha? What do you hold? Abaye Omar having Yadayim, Rabbi Omar lo having Yadayim. Machlokes if it's good enough. It seems to be the machlokes of Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan we just mentioned. The Gemara is going to say that soon. Is they tell you this machlokes? Amar Rava Rabbi Idi Asberoli. I'm sorry, did I skip anything? Amar Rava Rabbi Idi Asberoli. Rabbi Idi explained to me that you have to have Yadayim Mechichos. Amar Kra Nazir LaHazir LaHashem. This is possible when it talks about the din of Nazir. So it says here, someone makes himself a Nazir to make himself separated to Hashem. Makish Yados Nazirus the Nazirus. He sees in this pasuk that there's a hekish of the whole din of Yados to the Nazir itself. Ma Nazir Ba'aflo, Af Yados the Nazirus Ba'aflo. Just like the Nazirus itself has to be spoken out explicitly. When it says the din of Nazirus, it uses the word Yafli. The word Yafli means to be explicit. If the Nazirus itself has to be explicit, then we're going to see other Mishnahs where it talks about if someone accepted the Nazirus not in an explicit way, so it's not a good Nazirus. So too, the Yados also is dafka if it's explicit. So that's the source to say that Daim Shen Mechichos is not a good Nazirus. So the Gemara says we just had a machlokas about this. So what Abayin Rabbah seem to be same machlokas as the Tanoim. It seems that the machlokes Abayin Rabbah about the Daim Mechichos, Shedein Mechichos, is a machlokes of Yehuda. We just had this. The Tnan Kufa shall get there's the whole Adam. Tanakama says that's good enough. Rabbi Yehuda Amar v'dein that will lechim minoi. Say if you get paid Turin, it has on get Turin also. Yiger Shvukin. But the main point is lechim minoi. This is to you from me. So that Tanakama was you don't need it, and Rabbi Yehuda holds you do need it. If you said on top of the page, that's the machlokes of get Yadam Shen Mechichos, and Abayin Rabbah seem to be the same machlokes. Abayi Damak Rabbanan, Rabbah Damak Rabbi. There seems to be that's the machlokes. Abayi holds like the Rabbanan, you don't need Yadayim Mechichos. Yadam Shen Mechichos is good enough, and Rabbah says I can really have to have Yadayim Mechichos. Amalach Abayi, another Dam Afilu Rabbi Yehuda. I can hold that even Rabbi Yehuda by get holds you have to have Mochiach, but otherwise Yadayim Shen Mechichos is good enough. I'd come Rabbi Yehuda being in Yadayim Mechichos Alagabi get. They've been increases with Leka. Rabbi Yehuda just don't want to get. The get has to be to cut the marriage is very hard, and that you have to have clear. Rashi says that the pasuk says it should be safe for creases, means it has to cut. It has to cut well. It has to be a full cut. And that's difficult to cut. So therefore, you have to have clear. You have to have a clear cut. But by other Nedarim, other places, you don't see dafki also have dam mechichos. Rav Amar, no dam afilu rabbanan. Even the rabbanan will say that by get you don't have to have to speak out. This is from me to you. By Nedar, maybe you do have to. Ad kan lekam rabbanan Allah b'nei dam mechichos ela gabi get. The ain adam megarish eshes chavero. That there's no reason that by get you have to say from me to you. Who else can he divorce? He can't divorce somebody else's wife. So if he says I have to tell Adam, you're released. So who released? I released you. So therefore they say you don't have to speak it out. Maybe in other cases you don't see from there. You don't maybe they hold you do have to have Yidam Mechichas in other places. Ad kan.
Wow, that's good.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
Okay, yes,
Okay,
go.
so we'll
Yes,
talk
go.
with
Thank you.
Rabban.